Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Today I thought I'd bring you some thoughts on the event, King's Caprice, that just came out 4 days ago, and just give you some insights, hopefully, into how to get favor quickly and some things that I just want to clear up, or FAQs and that sort of stuff. So it should be good. So let's get chatting about that. And as per usual, I will be streaming my new account on Tuesday and should be streaming Tower of Titans this Friday at server reset as well. So that'll be good. So I'll see you guys this week. So anyway, this event's been really interesting, and I feel like in a lot of ways I've had to eat my words because for a long time I've basically said you only need the minimum amount of bins possible in this game, because the more energy that you have out, the better. And optimally, if you're playing continuously, you only need, a couple bins of each anyways. So now I think that that's wrong if you want to do really well in this event. So if you haven't been following along or haven't noticed, our guild is first by quite a bit. So we got to 20 million by the end of the second day, which was the original goal. Now it's down to 10 million. And we've kind of definitely took our foot off the gas the last day and a half or so, but planning on staying in number one. So I just want to talk about how these guys have been doing it. I'm close to the bottom because I've been kind of mastering, and then I switched over to all racks just to be grinding XP and stuff at the same time. So I haven't been optimal, but I've got just under a million myself. I'm at 947,000. So I just want to talk about how I got that and what that looks like. So when you go into crafting, so you can look here. A lot of people have been asking about what this ring means. Basically, that's how much time is left. So this is almost up. There's only a minute left, but this one has an hour and 1 minute left. So this was an hour and a half timer, but this one was probably only a half an hour timer. And this one, since it's a little bit bigger, was probably a 1 hour timer. So this is just telling you how much time that you have left. So when you go over to Caprices in this menu here, so you've got recent bookmarks and Caprices. Everything in this menu you can craft for the king. So you don't have to look and say, okay, he's asking for helmets, then go find the helmet menu and then try to find which helmet. You can just go in here, look at Caprices and decide. So a lot of the time, people are going to be having this ×2 item. I've only had it maybe a quarter of the time, and otherwise I just don't have any of the pack items. So honestly, I've got to where I am without the vast majority of these items. So let me just show you an example of how I determine what I'm going to be crafting. So this is double and it's a high tier item, so that's obviously going to be ideal for me. And then I have some herb items that I can do, and then there's also some wood items. So that being said, I can use my wood items. Just going to do that so you can see. So I can use my wood items, herb items, and stone items, but there's no leather items in this selection because the king isn't asking for any leather items. So I really believe that the most optimal play is now saving my leather. So saving my leather, saving my fabric, not spending them at all, and letting that get to max, because in this case in 17 seconds, but in other cases it might be in 20 minutes or whatever, this selection is going to change. So if my leather gets up to how much? 776, or it's getting close to max, then as soon as that changes, if a leather item is part of the King's Caprice selection, like hopefully it will be here, which it is, excellent. So then I go back into Caprices, these items have all changed. I happen to have this one as well, so I can craft those. And then there's also, as you can see here, the Drakeskin armor. So a leather option, which we'll craft one in a second. And so I think that's the best option that you have, is saving the resources that the king isn't asking for right now in terms of items, letting that max, and then at that point, when it does change and he's asking for, let's say, a leather item or a herb item or whatever, then you can just spam that type of item. And in doing this, especially when you're crafting tiers 8s and tiers 9, you're not using extra tier 3 resources, which is normally the one that you're going to be running out of. And so when you're not crafting leather or herbs or something, and you're only using a couple different types of items, then you're saving the tier 3 resources that you would normally be spending. And so that's probably your best bet. Another thing to keep in mind is that, let's say my leather has maxed and I'm sitting there with max leather and max fabric, and there's nothing for me to do, but I have extra time, I have extra crafting slots. I think actually a good option, for example, I could go over here and craft, like let's say these tier 5s, and craft them slowly over time. So let's say I have a max of 800, spend a couple hundred, craft 5 of these or whatever. I'm not getting any favor out of it. But what I can do then is go into my inventory, find, let's say, the tier 5 that I just made. This is just an example. Destroy that item, and then I get some of those resources back. And so if you're max on leather and max on fabric, and those are just sitting there doing nothing, you could use those resources now, basically stockpile them in items. And sure, you're using a couple of components, I understand that, but I'm saying if we want to be going as efficiently as possible, getting as much favor as possible, if you can craft 10 of those tier 5s or tier 6s, and then as soon as the king is then asking for the item that you have lots of that resource for, you can then craft those items, destroy all the ones that you crafted, and then craft even more tier 8s or tier 9s. And so you're getting a lot more favor than you would by just keeping all of your resources low. So with that in mind, having as much resources out as you can makes it so that you can get favor long term a lot more, because you're able to save up so many more resources. Because if I can save up 800 resources, and I look in here and I need 195, for example, I almost have enough tier 1 resources that I could craft 4 of these drakeskin gloves as soon as the king's choice changes, if I've saved up max leather. And so for me to be able to craft 4 of those immediately and then destroy some more items and craft 1 or 2 more, the favor that I'm going to be getting from those 6 gloves, I wouldn't be getting if I was just spending my resources on whatever, just because the king wasn't asking for it and I want to keep them low. Like, if you want to be getting as much favor as possible, that's your best bet. Another thing that people have been talking about a lot, we talked about it on stream and you probably know this, is that when you ascend a tier 1 item, often it's only going to require 1 resource. So if you go over here, you go to Caprices and you go all the way to the end. So this leather armor and also this sturdy cap, see how those all took 1 resource? So I'm clicking it, I'm getting favor out of it, 5, 5, 5. So I just got 15, but then I can go into my inventory and then I can destroy that cap and I'm getting my resource back. So essentially this is free favor as well. If I get a multi-craft, I'm getting 2 stone back and it only costed me 1 stone to make it. So really I'm gaining tier 1 resources by doing this and gaining free favor. So I know that that's obviously not ideal to sit there and click for hours and hours, and that's going to get boring and no one really enjoys that. But if you want optimal favor and you're really reaching for like a certain milestone, like you want to get to 1 million or whatever to be able to claim a certain prize, my suggestion would be, and we did the math on it, almost always the most efficient item to craft in terms of favor that you're getting out of it compared to resources that you're spending is going to be tier 9s or the highest tier. So if I'm crafting these axes and I'm getting 1200, that's going to be a lot faster than if I'm only crafting the tier 7 axe and I'm only getting 498. Like, per resource that you're spending, tier 9s are always going to be the best. Then I would say craft mid tier ones when you have max resources so that you're kind of saving up those. Don't spend any of the resources that the king isn't asking for right now so that you can save more of those for later. And then if you have time and you have the desire to do so, go in the Caprice menu, go all the way to the end. If you have these, even at 1 star, a lot of these are only going to cost 1 resource. And then you can craft hundreds and hundreds of them, destroy them all, get all your resources back quickly, and you're good to go. All right, so before we finish, just a couple things that I want to mention. I know there's been a lot of conversation over the last days about the change that they made to rewards. So if those of you who don't know, originally this top prize was 20 million. So the guild had to get 20 million in order for you to claim it, and you personally had to get 800,000. Those values have both been cut in half. So now it's 10 million and 400,000. So it's a lot more obtainable for guilds that are average or above average, rather than just it being an elite thing. Because after the second day, only about 80 guilds total were basically on pace to complete the 20 million. So this makes it so that a lot more guilds can achieve that. We'll see what changes come for next event, if it's going to stay at 10 million, if it's going to stay at a week long. From what we know, this event is going to be once a month as well. So we'll see if there's any changes in the event come next time, or if there's any extra rewards for top guilds or people who are going to go above and beyond the 10 million. We don't really know at this point, but it's all good. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you think of the event and what you think of my suggestions for how to get max favor. Like, I know a lot of people have been unhappy because just crafting tier ones can't be the fastest favor. You know what I mean? That's unfortunate. And I totally understand that. And you don't want to sit there for hours and hours and just click just to, receive a reward. Like, it's kind of mundane, I guess. So, I mean, even without spam clicking and even without me having every blueprint, like me having maybe 1 in 5 if I'm lucky, but crafting high levels, saving the resources that I'm not able to use for Caprice items, stockpiling lower tier items that I can then break down later on. That's actually allowed me to get almost 1 million in like 3 days. Like the last day, I haven't been doing Caprices at all. I've just been having max energy and selling. I just wanted to switch it over so I could show you guys kind of my thoughts on it. So I think it's totally doable. Like, for me to be able to not try that hard, I mastered 4 items during this event as well. I wasn't spamming tier ones other than like the first hour, and I was able to get 1 million myself in less than 3 days. So I think the event is very doable, but I understand that it can be more difficult when you don't have any blueprints, you're crafting lower tiers, you don't want to just spam craft tier ones, and just wondering. So I hope that this guide will help and shed some light on what I think is the most efficient, and yeah, maybe help you guys to enjoy and not have to spam as much. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on streams this week, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, have a great week. Peace out.